Welcome, everybody, to the Guilty as Charged podcast. I am Scott Simpson, Nimble W Numbers on Twitter. So excited to bring you everything fantasy related for Chargers football this year. I'm joined today on the podcast by a very special guest, my friend, my man over at Nimble W Numbers as well, Jordan Vanek. Welcome, sir. So excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. I'm a big Julio Jones fan, so I'm excited to talk Julio. And I mean, I'm excited about the Chargers with their offense, new coaching staff, and a few other things. And if anybody wants to check out my work, it's Jordan Vanek1 on Twitter. And let's get into it.
I love it, my friend. Yeah, please do check him out. So this week we've gotten a couple of different things are happening. The Aaron Rodgers saga as the Aaron Rodgers turns is happening, which is in and of itself crazy. But Kyle Pitts drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. Word out of Atlanta is Julio wants out, and the word out of his own mouth on Shannon Sharp's Undisputed show was that he's out. He's not going to work. He's not going to be there anymore, which is just fueling speculation about where he could go. Today, we're going to kind of peel the onion on what if he landed in San Diego. What would that look like? There's a few things that would have to happen, of course. He's got a $23 million cap hit. Chargers have around $20 to $16 million. So there'd have to be some things that would happen. We're not living in La La Land. We realize that. But if he did join this loaded squad, like you mentioned before, I mean, Justin Herbert last year was 9th. I have him projected as the 7th rated quarterback or ranked quarterback in fantasy football this year. So what we're going to get into is just how that would impact the whole Chargers squad. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of look at Julio Jones and break down his numbers. So what I have on the screen right now, and then what my man Jordan's going to do is he's going to kind of look inside these numbers. But this is Julio Jones's fantasy season log career we're looking at right now. And so you can see down here the last couple of years, 2018, he's at 20 points per game. 2019, 18. Last year, 2020, he's down at 16 points per game. So, he is diminishing. Even the totals, 325, 247, 146. Injuries taking their toll on Julio. This isn't really news to anybody. We've seen what Julio's been able to do and not do on the field the last couple of years, hampered by injuries. How do you see Julio and those numbers kind of interjecting into this Chargers offense? And would it be something that he's still kind of continuing to degrade and go down, or do you see a bounce back, or just a kind of a holding course?
I think Julio would bounce back. I personally, the 16.2 per game and the 9 games played, it includes 2 of the games where he exited out, I think 50% of the snaps. Julio, when he's playing, he's on pace for 1,400 yards pretty much every year that he's healthy. The health concerns are definitely there because he is getting older and those injuries are piling up. But I think a fresh new fit in the Los Angeles Chargers would be absolutely massive for Julio Jones. And I think the person who would get, I guess, like hurt in this sense would be Mike Williams. While Julio, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, that would be an offense to just watch and enjoy.
Yeah. No, and I like what you were saying too. Julio Jones, it's crazy to say resurrecting his career like it's being, ruined or tarnished. It's not. But obviously, there's another chapter to be written. I really love the fit, and particularly, I'm not against Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams has potential. We saw him a couple years ago break out, have 10 touchdowns, red zone target, also downfield, 50-50 balls. I like him in the air. Going up, he's got a big frame. The issue, though, for him, too, has also been health. And so both of these wide receivers have not been able to stay healthy. I think Julio Jones is in a much better position this year going into 2021 than he was going into 2020. And so I'm excited to see what happens. I would love to see him in the powder blue. I think that he could definitely go back into that, 18, 20 points per game. With Keenan Allen, what would the target share look like? How would that kind of break down? And we talked about Mike Williams kind of being primarily impacted. What would that look like numbers wise for kind of the whole Chargers offense?
So I think the Chargers offense would be able to get to 100 targets for Eckler, Keenan, and Julio because they would throw the ball a decent amount. And you go ahead and you look at similar to what Calvin and Julio were from the receiver's perspective, but instead of the Russell Gage, who's your third receiver getting the 90 plus targets, that would flop over to Eckler, and you would just see those 3 basically handle the majority of the target share. Joe Lombardi actually coached the Detroit Lions as an offensive coordinator with Calvin Johnson Jr., Golden Tate, and Theo Riddick. And Theo had 98 targets, and both of Golden Tate and Calvin had 130 plus. So I would see that similar type of share. And Keenan Allen, I think, is going to be loving the fact that Julio Jones is there because he won't face bracketed coverage while Julio will. And if you're giving Keenan Allen any sort of one-on-one, good luck. He's going to get separation early, and Justin Herbert will be able to find him quick.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think Keenan Allen would still, I mean, I think he's still the number one there. But it's close. If you have Julio Jones, it does, I think, come down to touchdowns for sure. And Julio Jones has not always been a touchdown monster. We know that. And so, if anything, I think it also kind of bumps Keenan Allen a little bit as well. And maybe it bumps him because people, if that takes place, people are afraid of Julio chunking into him, and so then it gives you a little bit of a dip in him, and you can buy that dip. If you ever hear them say that, buy the dip, you got to buy the dip. I'm talking about tobacco, folks. That's not good. Don't do tobacco in your mouth. Buy the dip in ADP when players perceive value changes in fantasy football. It would kind of spell the end, I think, for Mike Williams in his role for sure. I'm sure he'd get on the field, but Jalen Guyton still would be the downfield. Tyron Johnson still looking for downfield. Julio's not the guy that you're going to go, 50 yards in a flash to. You're going to be peppering him, with 15-yard passes, 20-yard passes, but not those 50-yard bombs normally. Those are for the burners now. And so you still have burners. How would it impact a guy like, Josh Palmer just getting on the field? Kind of, he's been mentioned before as kind of Keenan Allen's understudy. How would that break down for him? Just kind of push him down the depth chart and not get a lot of playing time this year?
Yeah, I don't think he needs the playtime right away. I think it's someone to develop because in college he didn't have a lot of reps as from good quarterback play. He had a good vertical route. You can see in his highlights he beat Patrick Surtain, he beat JC Horn. He's had great sets in coverage against these guys, but on a consistent basis, we never saw it because Tennessee never had the quarterback of a caliber of Justin Herbert. I think personally, it would be his job to beat out Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was able to do that, the Mike Williams walks, you get $15 million off the books for the next upcoming season. And the Chargers offense, if Julio can give it another go, you'd have Keenan, Julio, Josh Palmer with Eckler, and that is a great four. Like, it's an exciting four to be a part of and for Herbert to grow.
Yeah, and I like it too for Jared Cook. I have him around 140 fantasy points this year. It's kind of my projection on the high end for him. But that's touchdown dependent. He's been getting 6-7 touchdowns every single year for the last couple of years, and I don't think anything changes. I haven't projected for 7 touchdowns this year. Parham could eat into that a little bit if Parham kind of takes the next step. I'm a fan of his. I watched him when he was in the XFL. I mentioned that I think previously in another podcast, and I like his athleticism. He's raw, and he's got to develop, and he needs to kind of get his football sense with his body and understand where to be and how to be, and all those things that when you saw Antonio Gates, he just knew how to do. When you got into those red zone positions, how to get your body in between the defender, knowing where your quarterback's going to be. All those things are going to come with time, but Parham could eat into that. But I do think their tight ends are going to be a touchdown area where there's 8 to 10 touchdowns this year from the tight ends, and I think that's really going to help Herbert. I love this for Justin. I think I mentioned that before. I think this vaults him if the case. If he's lining up with Julio, Keenan Allen, even Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, and then Austin Eckler in the backfield on 4 wide receiver sets, he's going to be lethal. He's really going to be lethal. I have him as the 7th ranked quarterback. I think I would have to bump him up maybe to my 5th ranked after that, just given the ability for him to distribute the football to dangerous weapons across the field. I would love that. I think the Chargers would really like it too. And Julio fits Chargers Nation. And I'm new to Chargers Nation, but I've watched enough football. I watch all football, by the way. I love all of football, and so does Jordan. Jordan loves college football. If there's a Pee Wee game in the backyard, we're watching it. We're into football. And I watched a lot of Chargers games last year because they were the afternoon game and watching Red Zone. So I got to see a lot of Chargers football. I had Austin Eckler on my team. I had Keenan Allen on my team. So I'm into the Chargers. And this just really does bump Justin Herbert into that MVP candidate, really, right off the break, because he's going to have all the weapons. I mean, it's a couple years early, but I would love to see this. What do you think, though, the chances are right now? I mean, I've heard San Francisco. I've heard New England. I know what we're what ifing. What do you think? There's a 10% chance he ends up, in LA, 5%. What are we thinking?
I would say about the 10 to 15% range. I don't think the Chargers are necessarily going to be making that move because the roster is young. It's a new coaching staff. It's kind of like, let's try to win in year two, like in second year, not the first year with this group with Herbert and stuff. Let's learn how to get better as a team, stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I think the teams who are in the win now mode in their markets are going to be outbidding them, because I don't think the Chargers should be getting rid of high draft capital with what they have with Herbert, an all offensive line that's still young. It's much improved with Slater, but an offensive line that you want to continue to build around and build upon. And it's like, what can it take to get to Julio? If they find a way to give up like 2/3 for Julio, do it any day of the week.
Yeah.
But if the Falcons are mandating a second round pick from the Chargers, I'm not sure they would want to do that financially, because it would create a little bit of controversy in that regard and be a little bit difficult. While a team like Kansas City, which is in the division, would be willing to give up that second and figure it out, or another few other teams like New England, who seems to be win now because Belichick doesn't like to lose. I would assume they would outbid them in this.
Yeah. No, and I think it is kind of wishful thinking too. I think if it fell into their lap, if other deals fell apart and it came kind of to them after that, he said he wanted to go to a winner or somebody who's on the precipice of winning. And I understand that. I think the Chargers are a couple years away from that for sure. But if Julio came, it would make them a contender in that division. It give them maybe a win or two, I think. And they're in a tough division. Last year, the second week of the season, they almost beat the AFC champs. You know what I mean? So yeah, the division matchups are close, and so I like this. If it does happen, if it doesn't happen though, and he goes to Kansas City, that's not great for the Chargers. So Chargers Nation, that's a bullet we're gonna try to dodge. This has been great. Thank you, Jordan. You can find Jordan on Twitter over at Jordan Vanek1. He's also on Chalk Block. He does some stuff for Robbie and the Rum Boys as well. He's going to be all over breaking down fantasy football, DFS football this fall. Check him out. He is awesome. I love him. Jordan, thank you so much. You guys can check me out, Nimble W Numbers on Twitter. The Fantasy Millionaires, Chalk Blocked, the FF Hot Stove is coming up on Thursday. I have my man CD Carter 13, Danny Carter. He is awesome. And then we got Matt Harmon on Chalk Block this week. So, I mean, Jordan, you're going to be there. Me, Jordan, Bo, Matt Harmon. Check us out. It's going to be great. And last but not least, Jordan's in there every day. I'm in there every day. The Underdog fantasy streets are popping right now. It's the summer of best ball. Please get in there. There is a great promotion going on over at Underdog. If you put in a deposit $25, they will give you free $25. That's great. It's free, right? All you got to do is sign up, jump in, code name Nimble or promo code Nimble, and it'll hook me up, and I appreciate it. You guys are the best over here. Everybody from Guilty as Charged over Blue Wire, have a great week. We'll check you out next time. Peace.
Have a good one.